sometimes in technology companies, people say, if I want to work in technology, I need to be an engineer. If I need to work in cybersecurity, I need to be, also an engineer. And that's not true. There are plenty of jobs in the technology sector that don't necessarily require engineers. I'm saying this particularly for women when they are applying for jobs.
Welcome back to Engati CX. This is your host Vaibhav, and today we have Antonio Santos on our show. Welcome, Antonio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really look forward to exchange ideas, and it's always a pleasure to be able to do that. Particularly we live in interconnected world, and it's particularly important that we from different parts of the continents can basically talk with each other, about different topics related with technology and digital transformation.
Yes. Let's begin with a quick intro of Engati. We're the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 25,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. We have also been recognized as a top platform by inc.com, TechWorld, CIO, and many others. We run the Engati blog, the video channel, and the Engati CX podcast, reaching upwards of 3 lakh visitors annually. And now for our guest, Antonio is passionate about digital inclusion, social media engagement, diversity, future of work, and social business. He's one of the leading social media influencers on digital transformation. He provides digital consultancy across different sectors of the organization, specializing in business intelligence, customer experience, social business, and social media analytics. Let's start with the first question, Antonio. Talking about digital transformation, and especially post-COVID, how do you think small companies and large organizations should align their digital strategies?
What happened is some organizations, suddenly they were forced to send employees to work from home. Okay. Suddenly, now from day to night, people were asked, now you go home, you take your laptop, your computer, and now you need to be there to work from home and adjust. Some companies were already working like that, but the others, this basically was the first time that they were ever doing that. So I think after COVID, it's particularly important to organizations to see how they can continue this. Now, how can they support employees to keep this hybrid model of letting people to continue to work from home? Maybe not all the time, but maybe at some periods of the week, maybe at 50%, 75%. It's about trying to see how can this, how can COVID can also be a kind of a opening the organization to look at new ways of working, at the same time finding ways to engage with employees. And because we know many people now discover maybe I'm more productive working from home. So it will be particularly important after COVID for organizations and actually now as well to find ways to how can they improve that work from home experience, how can they provide the best support for employees for this actually to take off.
Okay, and then there'll be a difference in the approaches that the small companies and the large organizations take. Okay, and do you want to explore, elaborate on that?
But there's something that is common between the two of them. It's important, small or large. They need to find ways to support the employees in this journey. So it's up to the leaders of these companies to listen to their employees and try to address their needs for this to be able to succeed.
Agreed. Next question. Can you elaborate on your experience with Hack Access Dublin? Do you think we can leverage technology to build our communities on social media?
Definitely. Hack Access Dublin initially started as a way to create a conversation around inclusion and accessibility within the city of Dublin.
Okay.
And we wanted to see and identify people with an interest on improving accessibility. We succeeded well in that aspect, and also were able to generate a lot of curiosity about what is accessibility. Because sometimes you have people, oh, that's an hackathon, that's cool, so I just go to the hackathon. And then while arriving there, well, accessibility, what is that? So we end up in a situation where we had young developers coming out of university, and they start to realize, well, actually, actually code for accessibility. But during my years at university, I remember a teacher told me about this for half an hour, and that was it. And they started to realize, well, I need to develop my skills in order to improve my code, in order to make it accessible. So when I'm developing an app, a visually impaired person can use the app.
Okay.
Okay.
Agreed.
When I'm creating a website, well, someone with disability can actually buy the products that I'm selling. So it created a very interesting momentum for people who never had a contact with the topic, and it was very helpful to help us to create a community around that topic, because in the end, people like to do good things. They want to have a positive impact. So it was very good from that aspect.
Okay. And do you think there are any technologies that we can use to probably build our communities on social media? And
well, I'm quite keen in doing things in the open.
Okay.
So for what I've seen today, Twitter is one of the best places to start in the open.
Okay.
You can find people randomly. The algorithm is pretty much neutral. In LinkedIn, you go there now, and you have a feed, and you go there 10 minutes later, and the order is completely different. So sometimes it makes sometimes very difficult for you to follow up on a kind of a conversation. On Twitter, you can go search, and you can find a specific topic. And sometimes you don't really need, for example, a Twitter account to be able to do a search.
Okay.
While on Twitter, sometimes you need that. The platform is a bit more close. So I think Twitter is a very interesting place for you to go to look for a community. And then you can try to identify other platforms where you can bring that community, if you wish, to a private space where you can have different conversations, and people might want to talk about topics that they wouldn't be willing to talk openly. So I see Twitter as a space to start a community, to reach out people from different parts of the world, collect experiences, break out the silo sometimes of your culture, of your group, of your university. So it's a great place to start.
Okay, agreed. Moving on to the next question. When we talk about digital transformation, do you believe that technologies like AI, automation, and IoT will now be adopted on an accelerated basis?
I see some of them more than others.
Okay.
I see, especially in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of supporting you to be more productive, I see as something that can have a more impact, and it will be something that people will recognize that can help them. Probably some of us might use subtitles or automated transcriptions, no? And that's something that people can immediately see as something that can benefit them. I can give you a story of two of my colleagues. Two of my colleagues were developers, and they were looking. One of them is one of my colleagues. She's deaf, and she was struggling to handle calls because in the end, someone else had to take the minutes and then send her an email for her to understand what was the conversation that was being taken in that meeting. So you can apply captions, automated captions to a meeting like the one that we are having here now, and a person that can have an impairment can follow up and be part of the conversation. And I see that as a very interesting development. So every time that we see AI that can impact and improve or can improve an individual that is dyslexic or through voice transcriptions and all that, I see the AI as one of the solutions that has more impact on that.
Okay.
In terms of IoT, I see more the potential of IoT at an industrial level.
Okay.
In manufacturing, in robotics, within the factory and in the shop floor, where you can have robots moving in a factory environment connected through 5G, and then you can have those robots moving and through also connected with AI. You can have them doing tasks within the factory environment. And the challenge here is how you improve the relationship with humans and robots, how you improve the interactions of one and the others within the factory floor. I see some very interesting developments in that area, and can definitely be a must in the digital transformation. Can you remember me of the other?
No, nothing on top of my mind, but I think I completely agree with your point that all the technologies that we are talking about and the technologies that we see on the curve also are the ones that have to be applied at different places. So
Yeah.
it's not like, we take AI and it can be applied to everything in general, but I think it has to be applied in specific areas and in specific industries, and only then we'll probably start to see the changes, I think.
No, and people realize what is the value of AI for them. No, it will be easy to understand that if you just suddenly, AI is going to automate or is going to replace humans. I don't think that's the right conversation. It's about how can AI can empower you as an employee. Maybe you are able to have a little bit more time to read or to improve your skills, because that's also very important. And sometimes we are always so busy that we don't have time to do everything that we want during the hours of the day. And AI can help us to be more productive and give us sometimes a bit more of time to focus on other things.
Completely agree with you. And I think post COVID, so once the lockdown and everything was implemented across different geographies, I think that has given time to people to probably upgrade their skills and then be ready for what's going to come next, I think. Okay, moving on to the next question. Which industries do you believe will benefit from digital transformation the most?
A few years ago, one of the heads of the European Commission, let's see if I'm not going to be able to make a mistake with her name. Her name was Nelly Kroes.
Okay.
She was from the Netherlands, and she mentioned that every business is a digital business.
Okay.
Today, basically every business has some element of digital. So at a high level, every organization will benefit from digitalization. But from the moment that you don't just try to replicate what is happening in the world before digitalization into the digital world, it's about how you use digital to rethink how you work. Not just to copy your old processes into digital, how you move them and how you improve them and make them more efficient. So I see that almost every business can take advantage of it, but once more, I think areas of the way our employees collaborate within the organization in order to take advantage of everyone's intelligence and everyone's experience is one of the areas that needs to be explored. It's very important collaboration and taking advantage of all these new solutions in order to capitalize the employee knowledge. The other area where I see is about techniques around cybersecurity by default. Cybersecurity is paramount. Is one of those things that is always there. We always need to think about. Okay?
Yes.
But we need to act in a way that we make cybersecurity as something default on everything. Okay. It's important for us not to be obsessed with cybersecurity all the time, but we need to make sure that it's there by default. Okay. And every business needs to consider cybersecurity. There's not a single one that can ignore it. No, it goes across and sometimes cybersecurity, there are different elements. There's a technology element and there's a personal element. And it's particularly important that even a small business or a larger business, they look at least give a basic level of education to their employees into what cybersecurity concerns, to avoid small mistakes with passwords, with systems not being updated. So that's that element. I see it as particularly important. Another topic where I see some very interesting idea in terms of digital transformation is how can we use technology to improve sustainability and the environment in general. So it's how can we can find ways where our code is greener. So when I'm developing an app, I can find a way where my code is not going to spend as much energy than the previous. So the next development, it will also improve the energy of my code. I think that's a very, finding a solution that can help developers to reduce the footprint of the code is something that because we are talking, initially it seems something, well, I only have my app, but imagine that everyone around the world makes this effort.
Yes, I completely agree. And yes, please continue.
And I think that this could have a very interesting impact on the environment, and is something that everyone can consider, and it goes across industries.
Okay, and I just wanted to highlight this point. Like, I love this point that you said that there is going to be the human element and the technological element to each solution that we probably come ahead with. So that's one thing that I loved. Also, one more thing. So then, do you think the business models of these companies are also going to change because of digital transformation?
I think it's particularly important to use of the case of Microsoft.
Okay.
Who changed the business model? No.
Yes.
No, probably a few years ago, they just wanted to sell Windows licenses.
And
now they shifted. And probably more today than in the past, they want to make sure that people continue. How many organizations, let's say 5 or 6 years ago, had Office licenses, and maybe the employees were not using them, and organizations were paying. And they were able to move to a model of services, and to a model of designing software that is more focused on the usage. They want people to use the solutions.
Okay.
So I think they are a great example of a company that went from A to B and completely changed their business model, and also the way how people use technology today.
Okay, even I agree. Like, they've set the benchmark for, I think, all the companies that are following.
Yeah.
Moving on to the second last question. What role will conversational AI and robotic process automation will play post this COVID and probably beyond that?
Well, as you know, over the last couple of weeks, there was a number of organizations that decided to cancel some initiatives that they had on AI and facial recognition.
Yes.
Okay, they end up, now we are going to rethink what we have been doing, and we are going to stop some of the projects. I think I think they are recognizing that we need to do more in that aspect, to find ways where that technology doesn't exclude people. Okay, so going forward after COVID, it's particularly important that when, especially in those mainstream technologies, that we act in a more ethical way and look to every aspect of the development to make sure that the human element is present and is considered when we are deploying. We don't want to deploy a solution that is going to help people to apply for loans, and we end up realizing that that solution is going to somehow exclude a group of people that live in a certain area. So I see this after COVID as something that organizations are going to pay a lot more attention to. How can I embed ethical behavior? How can I bring different people with different skill sets within my organization? Psychologists, economists, philosophers, to be part of all this process, to make sure that to work with the developers, to co-create, and sometimes these people, they don't really need to be part of every project. But they need to be accessible in the organization. If a developer has a question, they can go with, or developers, they can share a thread with what we are doing. And if someone can go there, or you are not paying attention to something here that you should pay attention to. So it's about creating this kind of an internal environment where people with different skill sets are able to share the developments that they are doing. And I think this can definitely improve the application of that within society. So I see
Okay.
that as something that can hopefully after COVID people would pay more attention to.
Okay. I couldn't agree with you more. Any other thoughts that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Sometimes in technology companies, people say, if I want to work in technology, I need to be an engineer. If I need to work in cybersecurity, I need to be, also an engineer. And that's not true. There are plenty of jobs in the technology sector that don't necessarily require engineers. I'm saying this
Okay.
particularly for women when they are applying for jobs. And sometimes we see and observe that there's a job that relates with cybersecurity, and more men are applying, and probably we don't have any women applying because this barrier, that's too high for me. And I think it's particularly important that there's plenty of space out there in this technology areas for women to apply, because not all jobs require someone to become a developer or a technical background. Sometimes someone from a legal background with experience in international law is particularly important in the space of cybersecurity in terms of data exchanges. And it's particularly important to highlight that in order for us to be able to create more inclusive organizations.
Okay. Thank you so much for your insights, Antonio.
My pleasure.
And thank you so much for giving us your time. Your insights were really valuable, and I know our audience is going to enjoy this interview. We will be back with a new episode with a brand new expert soon, so stay tuned.